lot of people have been talking about Helium Network over the last year. It's probably one of the very few projects that has expanded the most and has come to market. Their hotspots are increasingly going across the globe. What is happening there?
Yeah, Helium Network is firing on all cylinders. That project is moving really fast. And even in this bear market, they're still seeing incredible growth, not necessarily in the token price. The token price, it's still down something like 40%, 50% from the highs. But among all the other coins, it's definitely a leader in terms of, minimizing losses there. I think there has been some buying interest. And on the network side, they are adding nodes to this network like crazy. Just in the last 30 days, they've added something like 80,000 nodes. These are wireless hotspots. And in 2021, they added something like 450,000 nodes to the network, where they started the year at like 10 or 15,000 nodes. So they are definitely an exponential growth trend. And it is really proving out this technology, I think, because it's hard to execute on something like this. Helium is a very complex product. And now that they have to deal with wireless radios and hardware, it's definitely ventured into another realm of complexity compared to something like Ethereum that is just only focused on software. They've really got their work cut out for them, but their ability to execute has been proved out with what they've built over the last year. So just to give a quick primer on Helium, what they have right now is a long-range WAN network. And so this operates on lower frequency bands, and it's really meant for like IoT sensors, temperature sensors, GPS trackers, things like that, because you're not going to get crazy speeds right now. You're going to get like 1 megabit a second, and it's going to be expensive. But the reason they went for that type of radio technology is because the long range aspect of it means that you can build a resilient network without that many nodes. So, it's not like you have to have, imagine if they were doing Wi-Fi, right? It would be very patchy until they got nodes like every 30 feet in the entire world, right? It would just be a difficult network to build up. So they started with this long range technology so they can sort of blanket the world in their network, but they are pivoting to 5G. So there are going to be 5G hotspots on this network. And I think that's really going to be where this thing takes off, because IoT sensors and things like that are great, but how much are people really going to pay for IoT? I don't know if the market for that is as big as the market for data on, high speed networks like 5G, where people want to stream Netflix and things like that. If you could pay in HNT tokens, and that's your cell provider bill, you no longer pay Verizon, you no longer pay AT&T, you just have some HNT tokens, and you wander around and you pick up this 5G network. That really is a killer product. And I think that is what's going to allow Helium to grow to mass adoption. So we really want to keep an eye on Helium. And when they're releasing this 5G stuff, they're also about to release these so-called light hotspots, where you're able to run a hotspot on a Raspberry Pi with a little radio adapter. So this is going to help scale the network with cheaper hardware and lower the cost to participants getting in and to start mining HNT. This basically allows you to run these little hotspots without running a full node, because running a full node on the Helium network takes a beefy computer right now. And so that's been a big complaint from users, is they have to have their server basically sitting next to their radio so that they can mine. And that's just, again, increasing the costs to set up this network. So the light nodes is going to let them scale out a lot more. And then the 5G is going to take this to the next level of functionality. I would definitely say that 2022 is going to be a great year for Helium. Everyone should be watching this and trying to get involved if you can.
That's awesome. I mean, how can an investor actually forecast out the price and kind of where it goes with the network? And ultimately, do you tie that to the amount of hotspots that may be on the network, the amount of users? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, given that everything in crypto is priced in such a growth mentality, everyone is just sort of projecting a future total addressable market and then just sort of discounting that back, 10 years, 20 years, something like that. It's hard to look at fundamental metrics and say, this is the justifiable price right now. But it does help you inform the ability to execute and the ability to reach that TAM when you see a lot of growth on the network and it's handling it well. And I think it also shows validation of the thesis when you've got so many people onboarding. We won't really know if Helium is profitable until they start onboarding a lot of users. I mean, right now, I think they're only making a few $1,000s a day or a week or something amount, some small amount from the actual data costs. Most of the revenue that Helium is seeing right now is actually miners who are joining the network, and you have to burn some Helium in order to do that. And so this is really just sort of, not real revenue from the network's perspective that you're seeing these burns right now. And the main concern I have in the medium term about HNT is that it's got a lot of inflation going on right now. And that inflation halves every 2 years. I think they've only been through one recently. So we've got another year and a half or so before the next one. And if the network can't get a solid amount of revenue in that time, you're going to potentially see some downside on this as that inflation eats into the returns. So I would say if you're a new investor looking at Helium, you might want to wait and watch the revenue numbers and watch real adoption on the data transfer side. You want to see people actually paying HNT for data transfer. And that's going to be a key that this growth is going to outscale the inflation. But until the next halvening or so, that high inflation is going to be challenging for this network.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to buying the data credits, I definitely am looking at who are those customers, right? Because it's very limited at this time.
Right. I mean, we're talking about IoT stuff, temperature sensors, GPS trackers, fridges, right? Anything that can just report a small amount of data and call it a day. And personally, I don't see people jumping over heels to pay for that sort of thing, right? They want to pay for actual internet. They want to actually use this as their sole ISP. When Helium reaches that level, I think, yeah, you're going to justify some high multiples on this, but it remains to be seen. Can they pull this off? But definitely watch out for this 5G network, because that is what potentially takes it to the next level.
All right, that's awesome. Let's leave off there.